The hidden cost of living paycheck to paycheck. Nobody talks about this. Hello there, friends. Today I want to have a real conversation with you. Not about strategies, not about marketing, not about making money online. I want to talk about something that most women carry with them secretly every single day of their lives. And that is living paycheck to paycheck. Bills, debt, bank balances. But looking back now, I realize that the cost of living paycheck to paycheck had nothing to do with the money at all. It was all about the emotion. For years I thought that if I could just earn a little bit more, I believed that everything would just magically fall into place. I thought the problem was my income. But the truth was so much deeper than that, because every Monday I would wake up and already count down until the next payday. The real cost for me was the guilt that arose every time an unexpected expense appeared. The real cost was to tell my family, maybe next time or next month. The real cost was working my butt off and never felt like I was getting ahead. And if you ever felt like that way, or you are feeling that way, I want you to comment. Let me know in the comments. But I also want you to know that you are not alone. I know what it's like to work hard. I know what it feels like to feel exhausted, to feel emotionally depleted. I know what it feels like to wonder if life is always going to feel this way. For a season in my life, I worked in direct sales, constantly, parking my car actually, and walking door to door every single day of my life, and taking rejection after rejection. Yet, deep inside, I still felt stuck, like I didn't have purpose. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't unwilling. And I surely wasn't sitting around waiting for somebody else to come and rescue me. I was trying. I was really trying. And that's exactly what made it so frustrating for me. Because when you give everything that you have, eventually you give so much. And it always feels like you're just standing still and you're staying stuck. And eventually it just, it affects more than just your finances. It affects your confidence. It affects what is possible. It affects your mindset. Eventually I started asking myself a question that changed everything. What if my current situation wasn't my final destination? What if this wasn't all there was? What if God had placed bigger dreams in my heart and in my life for a reason? And I know that some people feel uncomfortable about talking about the wanting more in their lives. I definitely did. I was there. And I certainly felt extremely guilty for. I was convinced that wanting more freedom meant that I wasn't grateful. And I literally felt like wanting more income made me materialistic. And wanting more and having bigger dreams made me feel selfish. But over time, my perspective did change. I began believing something completely different. I believe that God places dreams in our lives for a specific purpose. Wanting more time with your family, it definitely isn't selfish. Wanting financial freedom, it isn't greedy. And wanting options isn't wrong. And wanting to build something meaningful isn't selfish. In fact, I believe many women have buried their dreams just because they've convinced themselves that they are not allowed to want more in life. Maybe you've done that too. Maybe you've also told yourself, this is just the way life is. This is all I ever have. Or I'm too old, or I'm too late, or I'm not qualified enough. I'm not a tech expert, or I'm not confident enough. So let's just be honest here for a second. I've said many of those things myself. But one of the biggest lessons I have learned is that your current circumstances cannot and will not determine your future. It is determined by the decisions that you make. One of the concepts I love of personal development is the fact that decisions shape your destiny. And looking back on my own life, I can see that there's truth in that. My life changed because I made a different decision. One different decision. And that was to believe that something different was possible. It helped me to stop seeing my situation as permanent. One decision to take the first step, even though I couldn't see the full staircase. And that is where faith comes in. Faith doesn't mean you have all the answers. Faith means you take the next step anyway. Faith is trusting before you can see. Faith is believing that God will guide your path even though you cannot see where your life is leading. For me, that next step led me into the world of digital business. Now, let me just be clear. I didn't know everything. I wasn't an expert. I didn't have a huge audience. I didn't have a perfect plan. What I did have was the willingness to learn. And my willingness changed everything for me. I discovered something that completely shifted my perspective. Completely. Ordinary women were building online businesses. Mothers. Women in transition. Women who had never considered themselves entrepreneurs. Women who simply decided to start. And that realization gave me hope. Not because I thought success was going to happen overnight, but because I finally saw a path. I saw hope. I saw possibilities above all of it. And that's often what people need the most. Not guarantees, possibilities. Sometimes when we stay stuck, it's not because we are incapable. It's because we don't see another option. We become so trapped in survival mode, paycheck to paycheck, week to week, month to month. And eventually we stop believing that anything else is possible. And that's why I believe confidence is so important. Not because confident people are better, but because confidence gives us the opportunity to take action. And here's something that completely changed my way of thinking where confidence is concerned. Confidence doesn't come after action. It comes before action. Confidence comes from action. Most people are waiting to feel ready. They're waiting to feel confident and certain. But confidence is built through doing. Every skill that I've developed started with being bad at something. Every opportunity started with learning. Every opportunity or every breakthrough started with the first step. And maybe that's exactly what you need to hear today. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have your entire future mapped out. You simply need the courage to take the next step. That's it. One step, one decision, one act of faith. Because your story isn't over. Your current situation doesn't define your future. And living paycheck to paycheck today does not mean you are going to live paycheck to paycheck a year from now. Everything can change. Not overnight, not without effort, not without learning, but change is possible. I've seen it, I am living it, and I've watched other women experience it too. That's why I am so passionate about helping other women to discover what is possible with digital business. Not because it's a magic solution, and not because it's easy, but because it creates options. And options create freedom. More freedom with your time, more freedom with your choices, more freedom with your future. So if you are listening today and you are feeling stuck, I want to leave you with this. You were created for more than just survival. You don't need all the answers. You simply need a place to begin. And maybe, just maybe, the decision you make today could be the decision that changes everything for you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this message resonated with you, I would love for you to leave a comment below and tell me, what is the one area in your life that you are believing for more right now? And if you are ready to explore what is possible through digital business, I have created a free guide called Why Most Women Stay Stuck Online. You will find the link below. Until next time, keep believing and keep growing and keep taking the next step. We stand for faith, purpose, and freedom. With love, Janice.